Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 50 games of chess on chess.com in 24 hours. In this series I played 50 rapid games in 24 hours with my goal to not get below 1500 and try my best not to fall in an abyss of desperation while playing hours and hours of chess. If you enjoy this delicacy of a video, subscribe for more kind of these videos and be entertained by my desperation, singing and beautiful wins that came along. Now that you are subscribed, let me bring you to game Number 1. Game 1 started pretty normally, having a big advantage after the opening, but as usual, I wasn't making use of it. And as the game continued, we got into this position in where I was just completely winning if I just castled, get my second rook into the game and keep the tension in the middle of the board. Instead of that, I placed my knight to e4, attacking his queen, but leaving my knight completely hanging because of the potential pin. After trading off knights and castle, he pushed his pawn forward to f6, ready to pick up my knight. And with this disadvantage, the game ended in a loss. What a great start to this challenge. But hey, this is chess and we have 49 games left, so let's do our best. Game 2 started off, but the last one ended with a completely lost position in which I'm about to lose my knight again. After trying to trade queens to get my knight to e3 with some possible counterplay, my opponent wasn't this stupid and traded queens this way. So my plan to give him a check on c2 doesn't work anymore because my h5 pawn wasn't blocking his rook. So I pushed my pawn to g3 thinking he couldn't give me a check on g6, but he could because of this annoying bishop in his corner. Great. And I've lost this game too. Game 3 began pretty nicely, but after giving me a check with bishop f7 I should have gone king f8, but didn't like the fact of his discovered check from his rook. And although I have my e4 pawn, I was just completely blind and slid my king to d8, and that was my downfall, as you can see on the evaluation bar, because now he obliterates me with bishop b6 mate. 3 losses in a row. I am loving this. In game 4 I was able to do the fried liver attack, so basically after the Italian opening, if your opponent plays knight f6 you march forward with your knight, and after taking your pawn with his knight you sack your own to lure his king out and give him a check with your queen, ready to pick up his knight and getting a very comfortable position. So things looking really good until I hung my rook because of my stupidity and gave away the entire game. 4 losses in a row and I already was thinking of quitting the entire challenge. After attacking his queen in game 5 with my knight, he moved her away, which gave me this nice idea of sacking my bishop to open up black's king. After taking, there was mate in 2, which I didn't see because I wanted his queen, which I eventually captured, and a few moves later I mated my opponent and finally giving me my first win in this challenge. In game 6 my opponent and I played Pong with the evaluation bar. Hanging my knight with h4, my opponent missed it and played queen c5. Being blind again, I took on g6 and hung mate in 2. I don't know, I was tilted and I am an embarrassment for chess. We forget about this game. Game 7 was a confidence boost because my opponent thought he could attack my queen, but no. By giving him a check I could pick up his bishop, same with his rook, and this got me the win. Back to the roots with hanging knights. Wanted to attack his queen with g4, but didn't see queen f5 check ready to pick up my knight. Hung my bishop too, and I was so tilted that I eventually just gave up. In game 9 I found some hope and was lucky enough to pick up his bishop after a discovered check with my queen. Though I was scared of his rook and queen, I moved my king out of the corner and was able to infiltrate with my queen into his back rank. A few moves later I mated my opponent with queen h7, giving me my third win, which I desperately needed. Game 10 continues with me miscalculating something, as always being down a full piece after the opening. I think my biggest mistake in these games are unnecessary blunders due to wanting to get rid of my opponent's pieces as fast as possible. Anyways, I got demolished after I have lost every single pawn on the board and getting gangbanged by his pieces with a record of 3 wins and 7 losses. After game 10, I had a feeling that I'm going to regret this whole challenge in the end. Game 11 was a really tough battle and again I was down a full piece, but this time my opponent made a mistake by attacking my queen with his rook and forgetting that I can still take because his queen is under fire after he takes with his bishop. And with this mistake I got back the advantage. I traded more pieces and on move 55 I could finally pick up the rest with 2 pawns up and with 9 seconds left get my 4th win. So Game 12 was a very positional game with a lot of shuffling, and because of my impatience, I of course hung yet another piece. This time it was my rook. I think I need to get more patient if I want to improve my play, and with my queen stranded on the other side of the board, I of course lost this game, which resulted in a record of 4 wins and 8 losses. Game 13 and I had my opponent by the balls. I just needed to find a way to get rid of his rook. So, my idea was very complicated and GM level. First, by letting him infiltrate my back rank and make him feel safe. I'm just talking BS because I had no plan at all, but he moved his rook to c8 and with no guard at all, I could collect win number 5. In game 14 I let my rook being stuck on f1, but there was a way out of it to get one of his rooks back with knight d5 check and then sliding back to f4 to get his rook trapped itself. I of course didn't find this solution and played pawn e5. After moving my knight to safety I forgot about the pin with rook f8 after he took my pawn. My position collapsed and after taking my knight the game was done and gave me another loss in this journey. After taking my pawn on c5 in game 15, he hung his queen, but at this point my head is completely out of space, just like drinking the cactus juice like Sokka did in Avatar The Last Airbender, so I missed it. But my opponent blundered too, so after giving him a check with my bishop, which was not necessary at all, I finally took his queen, so it was 2 rooks against queen and bishop. My opponent gave me a hard time, but time was my biggest ally, and I got the win with it. I regained some motivation in game 16 after playing for hours straight and found this nice idea with pawn h4. His rook has just 1 square to go and this opened this beautiful fork with knight e5. He sacrificed his knight to infiltrate with his queen, but I wasn't scared at all, and after keeping my composure, there was almost a repetition which ends in a draw, but I knew I was in a much better position, so I moved my pawn to c4 to avoid a draw. My pawn was 1 square away from promotion, and after guarding my d3 pawn my opponent resigned, giving me 2 wins in a row in the first time of this challenge. Game 17 started off pretty normally until he made a huge mistake by placing his bishop on h5, because after taking and recapturing with his queen, his c2 square wasn't guarded anymore, so I could jump in with my knight and fork his rooks. The game continued for a bit, but after taking his a1 rook, I jumped in with my queen to f6, having this laser beam of a diagonal targeting his knight, rook and bishop at the same time. He moved his rook to f1 but came to the conclusion that it's over and resigned. 3 games in a row and I finally could make some progress. In game 18 I was able to do the fried liver attack again, but this time I was making sure to take use of it. Having his king in the middle of the board is always a big no-no, and as the game continued he gave me his queen for free because I think he was not ready for his king to be on the square. Anyways, I gladly took his queen and after trading more pieces we got into a battle between queen and rook versus 2 bishops and rook. Marching forward with my b-pawn, I opened up the b-file for my queen to jump in with a check, ready to take his rook, got another win with a 4-win streak. It is getting fun. Game 19 was very balanced until I threw away the entire game with bishop takes knight on f3. In my notes it says, thought rook was guarded. Yeah, it wasn't. Took the loss and moved on to game 20. Though this looked scary, I was rock solid in game 20 and could infiltrate with my queen to h4. He guarded his e1 square with rook e2, but luckily I found rook g2, because after he takes, his e1 square isn't guarded anymore and mate is inevitable, collecting my 10th win after 20 games. In game 21 I blundered a piece in the opening again, but I was pretty satisfied with my play, so I checked the analysis and found out that my opponent had an accuracy of 90.7% with an ELO rating of 2050. 2050! I'm sorry, but I cannot do anything against it, and with an accuracy of 82.3% and an ELO rating of 1600, I am more than happy to take this loss, because this shows that I'm capable of improving. What a game! Game 22 was a success because after we traded off knights, my opponent thought he could attack me with bishop h6. Little did he know that my queen was guarding the g7 square and I could collect his rook for free. With this mistake, it was my opponent's downfall because after a few moves I had his king in the corner and he resigned. After the opening in game 23, my opponent hung his bishop, which I happily took. I think it's the first time that it's not me who blundered a full piece, so in this position, if you are full piece up, you always look for more trades because in the end, you are a major piece up and this should be an easy win for you. I followed this strategy, clearing the board with all major pieces, promoted 2 pawns to a queen and mated my opponent, and for the first time ever in this challenge, I had an overall positive record of 12 wins and 11 losses. Talking about blundering pieces, we got back to normal. Blundering my knight after the opening again because I took his bishop first instead of a queen trade. I was slowly but surely done with chess with 24 games in this challenge. Getting fed up, tired, and overall angry I have lost this game. In chess it's important that you have a concentrated and calm mindset and not be in a whiny state like I was in this situation. You can see on the evaluation bar in game 25 that I was completely winning if I gave a check on b3, stack up my rooks and then push my f-pawn towards promotion. But I didn't see it and took on g5. I didn't lose for once and parted ways in a draw, but I definitely need to improve endgames. But a draw is a draw. Game 26 was pure domination as my opponent sacked his knight to get me out of the comfort zone, but I kept calm, found the right moves and was totally winning until move 34. But then... Bishop b5. In my note it says, quit chess, just do it, wait until the end you dumb f***. And what can I say? After rook e7 check, I just resigned. Because I was too dumb to see that king f4 would be fully fine. But I thought that my rook is lost and I just quit. It's just depressing. After this brutal defeat in game 26, game 27 went the same way in the beginning, being down a full piece in the opening again. It is always the same. Anyways, it was plus 14 for my opponent, but for some reason he forgot basic chess rules and gave me the win. With my 2 rooks in his back rank, he underestimated this threat and after pawn b4, there is mate in 3. I needed that, and thank you to Yogoda for your kindness. After game 27, I was done with chess on day 1 with an overall record of 13 wins, 1 draw and 13 losses. I'm doing good so far with my goal of not to get below 1500 after this challenge, so I went to bed and got ready for the remaining 23 games. Oh, it's a new day, it's a new life, and I'm feeling tired. Whoa. Let me grab my tea, Italian lime, and yeah, let's go. First game of day 2 and it was already nerve-wracking until the very last second. After trading queens on move 38 I was slightly better, but with my clock being down to a minute against his 4 minutes and 30 seconds, my back was against the wall. It got worse after move 53 with 22 seconds left, but I'ma show you what happened in those last 22 seconds with my live recording of this game. Oh. Wow, first game of the day and I'm already struggling that hard with the time. You just be yourself, right now you're someone else. Hotline Bling is just a banger. I think it was 2016, kind of this, yeah. I mean now Drake is a running meme, but yeah. It's still good. Now I got his rook. Since I left the city. "15 seconds. Wow, let's see if I can mate. Oh my god, that was a mistake. But it's fine, it's fine. Check. Go up and I it. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright. I have a lot of pawns left. I'ma just pick all of them up right here. Then I go here. I have 8 seconds. I cannot pre-move. I cannot pre-move, I cannot pre-move. No. Ah. Hello. I have just 4 seconds left. Tuske. Come on. Ooh. Wow. 0.4 seconds left. Oh my god. Alright. Oh, that was way too stressful for a beginning. That was way too stressful. 5 blunders. God. Okay. And with 0.4 seconds left, I have won that game and we move on to game 29. In game 29, I had a big advantage against my opponent but failed to find the right moves with my king to avoid checks. After king h2, we got into a repetition and drew that game. For me, it's just hard to find those little moves to keep the advantage, but hey, I take a draw. There was nothing special happening in game 30. After 20 moves with an even game so far, my opponent just left. Maybe he had chicken wings and got the doodoo running loose. I don't know, but I take the win. After 9 moves, I was already completely winning in game 31. What I didn't know is that my opponent played the Johnny Sins opening because he f***ed me in every hole I have after knight g4 and took my dignity. In game 32, my horse was the MVP of this game, completely annihilating my opponent's position. After threatening a fork on c7, he moved his king to d8, but after taking his d6 pawn and attacking my rook with bishop a6, I could fork his rook with knight f7 check. My opponent resigned and gave me my 16th win. Game 33 was a very tough battle and after 43 moves I was 2 pawns up, but this time I fumbled the whole game. Losing my first pawn after c4 check and being too greedy because after taking his pawn on a3, there's rook h3 check ready to pick up my rook. I'm always too fast and I'm not thinking before moving the pieces. Losing this game was definitely avoidable, but in chess, everything can happen. Being down a major piece but fully winning, I had maiden 1 in game 34 if I just moved my queen to h2. But nope. For some reason, I gave him a check with rook f3. Fumbled maiden 1, lost the entire game. I deserved this loss for sure. That was just dumb. I found this beautiful move sequence in game 35 to pick up his queen. After giving him a check and moving his king to g2, I took his bishop with rook e5 to get rid of his guard. After taking back with his pawn, I could jump in with my knight and fork his queen. Picking up his queen was his downfall and in the end, I could mate him with queen d1. Losing in game 36, my opponent wanted to mate me after bishop h1. Seemingly trapping his bishop with f3, he took the bait and grabbed my pawn, making the way clear to take his rook on d8. Attacking 2 pieces at the same time, my opponent resigned. Pushing his pawn to e3, I knew there was something after I traded my rook with his bishop and opening up the position. After giving him a discovered check with pawn d3, I grabbed 2 of his pawns, and after a few moves and pure pressure of this position, my opponent blundered his rook, giving me my 19th win in this challenge. In game 38, it was knight against an avalanche of pawns. Trading off a few pawns in the beginning, I of course got too greedy again and took on a4. This enabled his e-pawn to promote. Trying desperately to avoid it, there was no other way round, and I've lost this game. Having a complete shutdown of my brain in game 39, I blundered my queen instead of just taking his knight. With this malfunction, I've lost this game, and again, I was in promising positions the last 2 games but fumbled it. If I avoid these blunders, I surely can hit the 1600 mark, but well, I need to improve. After jumping in with his bishop in game 40, I could have taken but wasn't happy with my open king file. Nevertheless, I kept my advantage and with a queen trade I was a full piece up. After taking his bishop, which guarded the g5 square, I could give him a fork with knight g5, picking up his rook. The game continued for a bit, but I got the win in the end. Game 41, and again I just blundered unnecessarily a piece. After hanging my knight there was no way to win this game, and my downfall was a forced queen trade, and yeah, another loss that was easily avoidable. Hanging my bishop in game 42 after just 6 moves, the game was already doomed. But fair play to my opponent because he outplayed me in every way possible, and after rook g2 check, there was an upcoming discovered check with his bishop, ready to grab my rook, so I just resigned. After sliding my queen to b5 in game 43, I thought I could go into a huge trade-off, but miscalculated and was down a full rook. With this disadvantage, I knew it was a loss, and with rook h6 check, my queen was doomed and I resigned, falling back to almost under 1500. The game was completely equal if I would have found king g1 and then take his pawn on e5. How the f am I able to find king g1? At this point, my head was just done. I took on e5 first, but now he could enter with his queen, and with just one little pawn move, my entire position collapsed, and within 9 moves he mated me. 4 losses in a row, being under 1500 after 44 games, I am on the brink of losing this challenge. I was very lucky in game 45 because my opponent didn't realize that he could march his pawns down to promotion. In the end, we agreed to a draw. With 5 games left, I needed to win at least 2 games to keep my rating of 1500. I was so nervous in game 46 that I played my worst game. Hanging mate in 1 after pawn e5, my opponent missed this opportunity, but being lost and just completely confused, I hung my queen and just resigned. I have to win the following games. I don't know what happened in game 47, but after hanging his bishop, he just shut down, giving me all of his pieces. It was a gift from God, and I took this win. With this confidence boost, I marched on to game 48. With some new motivation, game 48 was a very tough battle, but in chess, if you make just one mistake, everything is lost, and my opponent in fact made a mistake by placing his bishop on e2. This allowed me to give him this nice little fork with knight c2, ready to grab his rook. After sacking my knight to have a passed pawn, I slowly but surely infiltrated his back rank and mated him with rook a1. Those last 2 wins were crucial as I jumped just above 1500. 2 games left to get to my goal. Having my back against the wall in game 49, I hung mate in 1 with pawn f4. Ready to be broken again, my opponent played knight f7. I didn't know what to do and played c3, but suddenly he moved his queen to d4. Trust me, I had no idea what happened. This was arguably the dumbest move I've seen in this challenge, and being so lucky, I picked up this win. The last game of this challenge and we got into a pawn race, pushing our pawns until 1 square of promotion, but luckily I had my bishop and could guard b1. It seems like the game is done, but somehow I couldn't find the right moves and my opponent bounced back and got his queen. I had multiple chances to mate my opponent and couldn't find it, but finally after move 56 I could check him and pick up his queen. But nope, it isn't done. Another pawn race with 2 squares away from promotion. I traded my queen with his rook. We both promoted, but I was 1 move ahead of him. Checked with queen b8, and finally he resigned, giving me a win in my last game. Winning game 50, especially in this way, felt really nice, I have to admit. After all these hours playing chess in 24 hours and fighting for every win with so many step backs, I was really proud of getting through this. My final record was 24 wins, 2 draws and 24 losses, which is under these circumstances alright. I mean, lots of mistakes were made, but I'm fully fine with it. Overall, I even beat my goal and gained 8 ELO points, being on an ELO rating of 1519. Was it worth it? Probably not, but I really like this challenge. Thank you ladies and gentlemen for watching my 50 games in chess in 24 hours on chess.com. If you want to see more challenges like this, take a moment and subscribe. Keep up the work, improve, and maybe we will see each other in a game of chess. And drink some tea. It's really good. See ya!